How would you feel if a court officer appeared at your door the day after your child's birthday party, with a thick envelope addressed to your husband? Why did my husband ask for a DNA test after seeing my ex at the party? And what did he do when the results arrived? This is how my life unraveled, after one innocent lie. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. The morning of Ava's 5th birthday party, I stood in our kitchen arranging pink and purple balloons, determined to make everything perfect. The backyard was decorated with fairy lights and princess banners, and I'd spent weeks planning every detail. This party would show everyone what a wonderful mother and wife I was. "Mummy, when are my friends coming?" Ava bounced into the kitchen wearing her sparkly birthday dress. "In 2 hours, sweetheart. Are you excited?" I smoothed her dark curls, the same color as mine. "Yes. Will Uncle Owen come too?" she asked innocently. My heart skipped. "Maybe, honey. We'll see." Nate walked in, adjusting his polo shirt. "Uncle Owen? Since when does Owen come to family parties?" I kept my voice light. I mentioned it to him when we ran into each other at the grocery store. He's always been good with kids, and Ava likes him. "Irene, he's your ex-boyfriend. Don't you think it's weird inviting him to our daughter's birthday party?" "That was years ago, Nate. We're just friends now. Besides, he asked about Ava, and I thought it would be nice." I turned away, busying myself with party favors. "You're not going to make this into something it's not, are you?" Nate's jaw tightened. "I'm not making anything into anything. I just think it's strange." "Well, I think you're being paranoid. It's Ava's day, not about your insecurities." The first guests arrived at 2 o'clock. Children ran screaming through the backyard, while parents gathered on the patio, drinks in hand. I flitted between groups, playing the perfect hostess, accepting compliments on the decorations and Ava's adorable dress. Then I saw Owen's truck pull into the driveway. He walked into the backyard like he owned the place, his broad shoulders filling out a fitted black t-shirt. Several of the mums turned to look, and I felt a familiar flutter in my stomach. "Renee," he grinned, using the nickname that always made me feel like I was 23 again. "This looks amazing. Where's the birthday girl?" "Owen, you made it." I hugged him, perhaps a moment too long. "Ava's over by the bounce house." From across the patio, I caught Nate's eye. His expression was stone cold. Owen spent the next hour charming everyone. He helped kids on the bounce house, complimented my sister Sam on her new haircut, and even made conversation with my father Paul about his construction business. But I noticed how he kept gravitating back to me. "You look incredible, Renee," he said quietly when we found ourselves alone by the gift table. "Marriage suits you." "Thank you. You look good too. The gym business is treating you well." "Can't complain. Listen, I've been thinking about you a lot lately. About us." My cheeks flushed. "Owen, we can't—" I know. But seeing you today, it brings back memories." Before I could respond, Nate appeared beside us. "Owen, right? I'm Nate, Irene's husband." His voice was polite but cold. "Of course. Great to finally meet you, man. Irene talks about you all the time." Owen extended his hand with that easy confidence that had always attracted me. Nate shook it briefly. "Funny, she doesn't mention you much at all." The tension was thick enough to cut. I jumped in quickly. "Who wants cake? I think it's time for cake." The rest of the party passed in a blur. I tried to focus on Ava, on making her day special, but I was hyper-aware of both men. Nate stayed close to his mother Linda, who kept shooting suspicious glances at Owen. Meanwhile, Owen helped clean up, made jokes with the other parents, and acted like he belonged there. As guests began leaving, Owen lingered. "Thanks for inviting me, Renee. It means a lot." "Of course. Ava was so happy you came." "Maybe we could get coffee sometime. Catch up properly." I glanced around nervously. Maybe. I'll text you. After Owen left, the cleanup felt endless. Nate barely spoke to me, just mechanically gathered plates and cups with his mother's help. Sam stayed to help too, chattering about how well the party went and how handsome Owen looked. He's really filled out since high school, she said, loading the dishwasher. No wonder you dated him for 3 years. Sam, I warned, glancing at Nate. What? I'm just saying. He's obviously still interested in you. Did you see how he kept staring? That's enough, Nate said sharply from the kitchen doorway. Linda, would you mind taking Ava upstairs for her bath? Of course, dear. Linda gathered Ava, but not before giving me a long, disapproving look. Once they were gone, Nate turned to me. We need to talk. About what? The party was wonderful. Ava had a great time. About why you invited your ex-boyfriend to our daughter's birthday party without discussing it with me first. I told you, we ran into each other and you thought it was appropriate to invite him into our home, around our daughter, without even mentioning it until today. I felt my defenses rising. You're being ridiculous. Owen and I are friends. That's it. Just because you're insecure doesn't mean I should have to cut off every person I knew before we got married. Insecure? Irene, the man spent the entire party flirting with you. He called you Renee like you're still together. He asked you out for coffee right in front of me. He did not ask me out. He suggested we catch up as friends. You're twisting everything because you're jealous. I'm not jealous. I'm concerned. There's a difference. Well, your concern is ruining what should have been a perfect day for our daughter. Nate stared at me for a long moment. You really don't see anything wrong with this, do you? There's nothing to see, Nate. You're creating drama where none exists. He shook his head and walked away, leaving me standing alone in our kitchen, surrounded by the remnants of what had been a perfect party until he ruined it with his paranoia. Monday morning at Hartwell Insurance, I needed sympathy. The weekend had been tense, with Nate barely speaking to me and giving me cold, suspicious looks whenever I checked my phone. I'd received 3 texts from Owen thanking me for the party, but I hadn't responded yet. You look exhausted, said Jessica, my cubicle neighbor, as I settled in with my coffee. Rough weekend, Nate's being impossible. What happened? I glanced around the office, then leaned closer. You know how I mentioned running into my ex, Owen? Well, I invited him to Ava's birthday party, just being friendly, and now Nate's acting like I committed some terrible crime. Oh, wow. How long since you dated this guy? Years. Like before I even met Nate. But apparently, I'm not allowed to have male friends now. I rolled my eyes dramatically. He's being so controlling and paranoid. He actually accused me of flirting. Jessica frowned. Were you? Of course not. Owen's just naturally charming. He was being nice to everyone, not just me. But Nate's so insecure he can't handle me talking to another man. By lunchtime, I'd shared my story with 3 more co-workers in the break room. Each telling made Nate sound worse, and me more like a victim of his jealousy. Men can be so possessive, agreed Karen from accounting. My ex was like that. Couldn't even talk to the mailman without him getting suspicious. Exactly. And the worst part is, he's making Ava's birthday about his issues instead of celebrating our daughter. My phone buzzed with a text from Sam. How's Nate today? Still being a drama queen? I typed back. Worse, he's barely speaking to me. I think I married the wrong guy. Want to get drinks after work? You need to vent. Can't. Have to pick up Ava and pretend everything's fine. Another text came in, this one from Owen. Hope I didn't cause problems yesterday. You seemed tense when I left. My heart raced a little. I looked around the break room, then typed, Nate's being difficult, but it's not your fault. He's just insecure. That sucks. You deserve better than that. I stared at the message, feeling a warm flutter. Owen always knew exactly what to say to make me feel understood. Coffee offer still stands if you need someone to talk to, he added. Before I could lose my nerve, I typed, maybe. Things are pretty bad at home. I'm here for you, Renee. always have been. I deleted the conversation before heading back to my desk, but the warm feeling lingered. It was nice to have someone who actually cared about my feelings, instead of making everything about their own insecurities. That evening, I arrived home to find Nate helping Ava with her homework at the kitchen table. He looked up when I walked in, his expression neutral. "How was work?" "Fine." I set down my purse and kissed Ava's head. "How's my birthday girl today?" "Good. Daddy made pancakes for breakfast and we played Princess Castle." "That sounds wonderful." I glanced at Nate, who was focused intently on Ava's math worksheet. "Can I talk to you for a minute?" We stepped into the living room, and I tried to keep my voice gentle. "Look, I know you're upset about yesterday, but can we please just move past this? I hate when we fight." "I'm not fighting, Irene. I'm trying to understand why my wife thought it was appropriate to invite her ex-boyfriend to our home without discussing it with me. Because I knew you'd react exactly like this. You'd get all jealous and controlling and ruin everything." "Controlling? For wanting to know who's coming to my daughter's birthday party? For making it about you instead of about Ava? She had a wonderful time, and that should be what matters." Nate studied my face carefully. "Has Owen contacted you since the party?" The question caught me off guard. "Why would you ask that?" "Just answer the question." "He sent a thank you text. That's what polite people do." "Just one text?" I felt heat rising in my cheeks. "Maybe a couple. I don't keep count." "And did you respond?" "Nate, this is ridiculous. You're interrogating me like I'm a criminal." "I'm asking my wife simple questions about her communication with another man. If that feels like an interrogation, maybe you should ask yourself why." I stared at him, shocked by his coldness. "I can't believe you're treating me like this. I've never given you any reason not to trust me." "Haven't you?" The question hung in the air between us like a challenge. I felt tears prick my eyes. "I'm going to check on Ava," I said, and walked away before he could see how much his suspicion hurt me. Later that night, after Ava was asleep, I sat in our bedroom scrolling through old photos on my phone. I found one from the party, Owen and me laughing at something he'd said while we arranged gift bags. We looked good together, happy. I wondered what my life would have been like if I'd married Owen instead of Nate. Owen never would have made me feel guilty for being friendly. He understood my social nature, my need for connection and fun. Nate just wanted to control everything. My phone buzzed with another text from Owen. "Thinking about you. Hope things get better at home." This time, I didn't delete it. By Wednesday, the tension at home was suffocating. Nate continued being coldly polite, answering my questions with single words and avoiding any real conversation. Even worse, I caught him watching me when he thought I wasn't looking, like he was studying a suspect. I'd been texting with Owen throughout the week, nothing inappropriate, just friendly conversation that gradually became more personal. He asked about my work, remembered details about my life, and most importantly, he listened without judgment. "Want to grab that coffee tonight?" he texted Wednesday afternoon. I closed the gym at 8, but we could talk after. I stared at the message for 10 minutes before responding. "I don't think that's a good idea." "Come on, Renee, we're old friends. What's the harm in catching up?" "Nate's already suspicious. If someone sees us, then come to the gym after I close. No one will see us there." My heart pounded. Meeting Owen alone at his gym definitely crossed a line, but I was so tired of walking on eggshells around Nate. I deserved to have friends. I deserved to feel appreciated. "Just to talk," I typed. "Of course, just to talk." That evening, I told Nate I had to work late to finish a report. He barely looked up from his laptop. "I'll pick up Ava from daycare," he said. "What time will you be home?" 9, maybe 9:30. "Fine. No questions about the report, no interest in my work, just cold acceptance." It made my decision feel justified. Owen's gym occupied a converted warehouse on the outskirts of town. I'd driven past it countless times but never been inside. The parking lot was empty, except for his truck when I arrived at 8:15. He met me at the door, grinning that boyish smile that had captured my heart in high school. I was starting to think you'd chicken out. I almost did. But you didn't. Come on, let me show you around. The gym was impressive. Modern equipment, motivational posters, a small office in the back corner. Owen had done well for himself. Want something to drink? I've got water, sports drinks, beer. Water's fine. He grabbed 2 bottles from a mini fridge and gestured toward his office. We can talk in here, more private. The office was cramped but comfortable, with a desk, 2 chairs, and photos of Owen with various clients and friends. I noticed he'd removed all pictures of the girlfriend he'd been dating last year. So, he said, settling into the chair across from me, tell me what's really going on at home. What do you mean? Come on, Renee. I saw the tension at the party. Your husband looked like he wanted to punch me, and you've been texting me all week about how unhappy you are. I sighed. Nate's just different than I thought he'd be when we got married. He's controlling, suspicious, no fun anymore. Everything's about work and responsibility. We never laugh together. That's not the Irene I remember. You used to light up every room you walked into. I still do that, just not around him, apparently. Owen leaned forward. Do you remember how good we were together? How easy everything felt? Owen, I'm not trying to cause problems. I just think you deserve to be happy. You deserve someone who appreciates how amazing you are. The compliment washed over me like warm water. When was the last time Nate had called me amazing? We were good together, I admitted quietly. But that was a long time ago. Was it? Because seeing you again, it doesn't feel like any time has passed at all. We talked for another hour, reminiscing about high school, our old friends, the dreams we'd shared. Owen remembered everything, my favorite songs, the way I liked my coffee, the book I'd been writing that I'd never finished. You should finish it, he said. You always had such a beautiful way with words. Nate thinks creative writing is a waste of time, says I should focus on my career. See, that's exactly what I mean. The Renee I knew had big dreams. What happened to them? I felt tears threatening. I grew up. I got married. I had responsibilities. You had a daughter. That doesn't mean you have to give up everything that made you who you are. At 9:15, I reluctantly stood to leave. I should get home. Already, we're just getting to the good stuff. Owen, I'm married. I have a family. He stood too, moving closer. I know. But are you happy? The question hung between us as he walked me to my car. At the door, he touched my arm gently. Think about what I said, okay? Life's too short to settle for someone who doesn't see how incredible you are. I drove home in a daze, Owen's words echoing in my mind. He was right. I had given up too much of myself for Nate's comfort. I deserve better than suspicion and cold silences. I was still lost in thought when my phone rang. Nate's name appeared on the screen. Hi, I answered, trying to sound tired. Where are you? It's almost 9:30. Just leaving the office now. Sorry, the report took longer than expected. Okay, Ava's already asleep. I saved you some dinner. Thanks, I'll be home in 15 minutes. Drive safe. The guilt hit me as I hung up. Nate had made me dinner and put our daughter to bed while I was meeting with my ex-boyfriend. But then I remembered his cold treatment all week, his suspicious questions, his complete lack of interest in my feelings. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was just talking to an old friend who actually cared about me. When I got home, Nate was reading in bed. He looked up when I entered our bedroom. How was the report? Boring, insurance stuff. I headed for the bathroom to change. Thanks for handling bedtime. No problem. Oh, my mum called. She wanted to thank you again for including her in the party. I paused, my hand on the bathroom door. That's nice. She mentioned something interesting, though. Apparently, Mrs. Chen from her book club saw your car at that new gym across town tonight. Thought it was strange, since you've never mentioned working out there. My blood turned to ice. Mrs. Chen? Yeah, she was driving home from bridge night and noticed your license plate, said it was after 9 and the place looked closed. I forced a laugh. That's weird. I wasn't anywhere near that gym. So, Mrs. Chen was mistaken? She must have been. You know how old people are with license plates. Probably saw something similar. Nate nodded slowly. Probably. But his eyes never left my face, and I had the uncomfortable feeling that he didn't believe a word I'd said. The next 2 weeks passed in a strange stalemate. Nate remained coldly polite, and I threw myself into work and text conversations with Owen. We hadn't met again, but our messages grew increasingly intimate. He sent me old songs that reminded him of us, photos of sunsets with captions like, "Wish you were here to see this with me," and long paragraphs about how much he'd missed having me in his life. I found myself looking forward to his texts more than coming home each evening. To prove everything was normal, I decided to host a family dinner. My parents, Nate's mother Linda, and my sister Sam would all come over for Sunday dinner. I'd cook Nate's favorite pot roast, set the table with our good china, and show everyone what a happy, stable family we were. "This is really nice, sweetheart," my father Paul said, cutting into his roast. "You've outdone yourself." "Thank you, Daddy. I wanted to do something special." Linda, however, seemed less impressed. She'd been quiet through most of the meal, responding to my attempts at conversation with polite but cool answers. "So, Linda," I said brightly, "how's your book club going? You mentioned Mrs. Chen the other day." "Fine." Linda took a sip of wine. "Margaret's very observant, notices everything happening around town." "That's nice." "Yes, she has a remarkable memory for details. License plates, faces, that sort of thing." The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Sam, oblivious to the undercurrent, jumped in cheerfully. "Speaking of observant, did you guys see Owen's Instagram post from Ava's party? He looks so good. I can't believe he's still single." "Sam," I warned. "What? I'm just saying. He's obviously still carrying a torch for you, Irene. The way he looked at you at the party." She fanned herself dramatically. Nate set down his fork with deliberate precision. "Could we please not discuss my wife's ex-boyfriend at our dinner table?" "Oh, come on," Sam laughed. "It's not like anything's happening. Though honestly, Irene, I don't know how you resist. He's gotten so much hotter since high school." "Samantha," my father said sharply, "that's enough." But the damage was done. Linda's face had gone stone cold, and Nate looked like he was barely controlling his temper. "Actually," Linda said slowly, "since we're discussing Owen, I'm curious about something, Irene. Margaret mentioned seeing your car at his gym a couple weeks ago, after hours. She was quite certain it was yours." My mouth went dry. I told Nate Mrs. Chen must have been mistaken. Margaret's not usually mistaken about things like that. She's very detail-oriented. Well, she was wrong this time. "Was she?" Linda's eyes were sharp as knives. "Because it seems awfully coincidental. Your ex-boyfriend shows up at Ava's party uninvited. You defend him when Nate questions it, and then your car is spotted at his business after closing time. He wasn't uninvited. I invited him. Without discussing it with your husband first. I don't need Nate's permission to invite friends to my daughter's birthday party." "Friends?" Linda's voice rose. "Irene, the man spent 3 years trying to marry you. He's not just a friend. That was a lifetime ago. We're different people now." "Are you?" Linda stood up abruptly. "Because from where I sit, it looks like you're playing games with my son's marriage and my granddaughter's family." "Linda, please," Paul tried to intervene. "Let's all calm down." "I will not calm down." Linda's voice shook with anger. "My son works 60 hours a week to provide for this family, while his wife sneaks around with her ex-boyfriend." "I am not sneaking around." "Then explain the gym." "There's nothing to explain because I wasn't there." "You're lying." Linda slammed her hand on the table, making the dishes jump. "I can see it in your face. You're lying to all of us." "That's enough." I stood up too, fury overwhelming my shock. I don't have to sit here and be attacked in my own home. Your home? Linda's laugh was bitter. This house belongs to my son too, the son you're humiliating with your behavior. What behavior? Having friends, talking to people? I'm sorry if that threatens you, but I won't be isolated just because you're paranoid. Paranoid? Irene, you invited your ex-lover to a family party, lied about meeting him privately, and you think we're paranoid for noticing. I never lied about anything. Mummy, Ava's small voice cut through our shouting. She stood in the doorway in her pajamas, eyes wide with fear. Why is everyone yelling? The room fell silent. I rushed to her, kneeling down to her level. It's okay, baby. The grown-ups were just having a disagreement. Everything's fine. Is Grandma Linda mad at you? I looked back at Linda, who had tears in her eyes now. We're just talking about some things. Why don't you go back to bed? I'll come tuck you in again in a few minutes. After Ava left, the silence stretched unbearably. Finally, Linda spoke, her voice quiet but firm. Nate, I think we need to go. Paul, Samantha, thank you for a lovely dinner. She gathered her purse and coat with dignity, then turned to me one last time. I love my son and I love my granddaughter. I will not stand by and watch you destroy their family for the sake of some childish fantasy. After they left, Sam helped me clear the table, in uncomfortable silence. Paul tried to make small talk, but the evening was ruined. She was way out of line, Sam said as she loaded the dishwasher. You don't deserve to be attacked like that. Thank you. At least someone's on my side. Of course I'm on your side. You're my sister. But Irene... She paused, then looked at me seriously. You weren't really at that gym, were you? Sam, I'm just asking, because if you were, you need to be careful. Nate's not stupid, and Linda's watching everything now. There's nothing to be careful about because I'm not doing anything wrong. But even as I said it, I thought about Owen's latest text, still unanswered on my phone. Missing you tonight. Can't stop thinking about what might have been. After everyone left, Nate and I finished cleaning in silence. Finally, as we were turning off the lights, he spoke. We need to talk. About what? Your mother's completely inappropriate behavior? About us, about what's happening to our marriage. Nothing's happening to our marriage except your family trying to destroy it. Irene, look at me. His voice was deadly quiet. Look me in the eyes and tell me you weren't at Owen's gym that night. I met his gaze, my heart pounding. I was not at Owen's gym. He stared at me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Okay. But as he walked upstairs, I heard him mutter something under his breath that made my blood freeze. We'll see about that. The week following the disastrous dinner was the worst of our marriage. Nate barely spoke to me except when necessary, and when he did, his tone was formal and distant. He started coming home later from work, claiming extra projects. He spent more time with Ava, taking her to the park after daycare and reading extra bedtime stories. I felt increasingly isolated and turned more frequently to Owen for emotional support. Our text conversations became my lifeline, the only place I felt understood and appreciated. He's freezing me out, I texted Owen Thursday evening while Nate gave Ava her bath. It's like living with a stranger. You deserve so much better than this, he replied immediately. A woman like you should be cherished, not punished for having friends. I keep thinking about what you said, about settling. You don't have to settle, Renee. You have choices. Do I? I have Ava to think about. Kids are resilient, and she deserves to see her mother happy. The conversation continued for another hour, growing more intimate with each exchange. Owen reminded me of who I used to be, confident, fun, adventurous. With him, I didn't have to walk on eggshells or justify every friendship. Friday evening, Nate announced he was taking Ava to his mother's for the weekend. Why? I asked, looking up from my laptop. She asked to see her granddaughter, and I think Ava could use some time away from the tension here. What tension? Everything's fine. Is it? He studied my face. Because it doesn't feel fine, Irene. It feels like we're strangers living in the same house. That's not my fault. You're the one who's been cold and distant. I've been trying to figure out what's happening to my marriage. Nothing's happening. You're creating problems where none exist. He was quiet for a moment, then said, I've been doing some thinking this week. About us, about our family, about what I want for Ava's future. Something in his tone made me nervous. What kind of thinking? The kind that leads to difficult conversations. They left Saturday morning, Ava excited about spending the weekend with Grandma Linda. I felt guilty about the relief I experienced watching them drive away. With the house empty, I found myself texting Owen almost immediately. They're gone for the weekend, I wrote. Want some company? He responded within minutes. I shouldn't. Why not? You're miserable, Renee. Life's too short. An hour later, Owen was sitting in my living room, looking comfortable and familiar in a way that Nate never had. We ordered Chinese food and opened a bottle of wine, talking and laughing like the old days. This feels right, he said, reaching over to tuck a strand of hair behind my ear. Being here with you. It always felt right. Owen, I know you feel it too. The connection's still there. He was right. The chemistry between us was undeniable, electric in a way my marriage had never been. But before anything could happen, my phone rang. Nate's name appeared on the screen. I should answer this, I said, my heart racing. Hi, I said, trying to sound normal. Hey, just checking in. What are you up to? Nothing much. Catching up on some reading. How's Ava? Good. She's helping Mom make cookies. We'll probably be back tomorrow around dinner time. Okay. Tell her I love her. I will, Irene. Yeah? We really do need to talk when I get home. About everything. I know, we will. After I hung up, Owen was watching me with a knowing expression. He suspects something, doesn't he? He suspects everything, even when there's nothing to suspect. But there is something, isn't there? Between us? Before I could answer, he leaned over and kissed me. For a moment, I let myself get lost in the familiar warmth of his lips, the way he held my face like I was precious. Then reality crashed back and I pulled away. You have to go. Renee, please, this is wrong. I'm married. I have a daughter. You're married to the wrong man. Maybe, but I'm still married. Owen left reluctantly, but not before making me promise to think about what he'd said. I spent the rest of the weekend in turmoil, replaying the kiss, imagining what my life might be like if I chose differently. Sunday evening, Nate and Ava returned with Chinese takeout and stories about their weekend. Ava chatted happily about the cookies she'd made and the movie she'd watched with Grandma. Nate was polite but distant, his eyes watchful. After Ava went to bed, he asked me to join him in our bedroom. How was your weekend? He asked, sitting on the edge of the bed. Quiet. I caught up on some work, did some cleaning. Did you see anyone? Talk to anyone? The question felt loaded. Just my usual weekend stuff, why? Because I've been thinking about our conversation Friday night, about what's happening to our marriage. Nate, can we please just move forward? I hate all this tension. So do I. That's why I've made a decision. Something in his tone made my stomach clench. What kind of decision? He reached into his nightstand drawer and pulled out a manila envelope. I want a paternity test for Ava. The words hit me like a physical blow. What did you just say? I want to confirm that Ava is my biological daughter. Are you insane? Of course she's your daughter. Is she? The quiet question hung between us like a bomb. I stared at him, speechless. You think I cheated on you? I think you've been lying to me. About the gym, about Owen, about a lot of things. And if you're lying about that, what else might you be lying about? I cannot believe you're questioning Ava's paternity. She's your daughter. Look at her. She has dark hair like you, dark eyes like you. She doesn't really look like me at all. Lots of children look more like one parent. This is insane. Is it? Because the timeline's interesting, Irene. Ava was born in March. If I count back 9 months, that puts conception around June. And I remember June because I was traveling a lot for work. Gone 3 weeks out of the month. My mouth went dry. So? So you would have been lonely. Maybe reached out to an old friend for comfort. You're sick. You're actually sick for thinking this. Am I? Because a few weeks ago, I would have sworn my wife would never lie to me about meeting her ex-boyfriend. But here we are. I never lied about anything. You told me you weren't at Owen's gym, but I know you were, Irene. I have proof. My heart stopped. What proof? Security cameras. Owen's gym has them in the parking lot, and Mrs. Chen wasn't the only one who saw your car there that night. The room spun around me. You had me followed. I didn't have to. I just asked the right questions to the right people. You bastard. You actually had me investigated like some kind of criminal. I had my suspicions confirmed. There's a difference. Even if I was there, which I'm not admitting, that doesn't mean anything happened. And it certainly doesn't mean you should question Ava's paternity. Doesn't it? Because if you're lying about meeting him now, how do I know you weren't meeting him 5 years ago? I felt tears streaming down my face. How can you do this to her? To your own daughter? If she's my daughter, the test will prove it. If she's not, he shrugged, then we'll deal with that. And if I refuse, then I'll assume you have something to hide, and I'll file for divorce and request court-ordered testing anyway. The threat hung in the air between us. I stared at this man I'd married, this stranger who could so coldly question his own child's parentage. Fine, I whispered. Do your test. But when it comes back, proving you're wrong, I want an apology. To me and to Ava. If I'm wrong, you'll get one. He handed me the envelope. Inside were forms from a DNA testing company and an appointment slip for the following Tuesday. The appointment's already made, he said quietly, for all 3 of us. I looked at the papers through my tears, then back at his face. I don't even know who you are anymore. Funny, he said, standing up. I was thinking the same thing about you. The DNA testing appointment was a nightmare. Ava didn't understand why we needed to go to the doctor when she wasn't sick, and I had to lie and tell her it was just a routine checkup. The whole time, Nate sat in stony silence, while a technician swabbed our cheeks. Results will be available in 3 to 5 business days, the technician said cheerfully. You can access them online, or we can mail them to you. Online is fine, Nate said. He'd barely looked at me since we arrived. The next few days were torture. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on work. I kept running the timeline in my head, trying to remember exactly when Ava was conceived. Nate was right about traveling a lot that June, but surely... I'd been with Owen a few times that summer. We'd run into each other at a bar, started texting, met for coffee that turned into dinner, that turned into... But that was after Nate and I were trying to get pregnant, wasn't it? The doubt was eating me alive. Owen had been texting constantly since the weekend, wanting to know when we could see each other again. I'd been ignoring his messages, but finally responded, "Can't talk right now. Family crisis." "What's wrong? Can I help?" "Nate wants a DNA test for Ava." My phone rang immediately. "Jesus, Renee, what did you tell him?" "Nothing. He's just suspicious about everything now." "But the timing. When was she conceived?" The question I'd been dreading. "I don't know exactly. June, maybe July 2018. Silence on the other end. "Owen." "Renee, we were together in June. Multiple times." My world tilted. "I know, but she could be mine." The words I'd been trying not to think crashed over me. No, she's Nate's. She has to be. But what if she's not?" I hung up, my hands shaking. Thursday morning, Nate got the call. I was getting ready for work when I heard him on the phone in the kitchen. "Yes, this is Nathaniel Harper. ID number 477382. "I see. Yes, I understand. Can you email me a copy of the full report?" The silence that followed was deafening. I crept to the top of the stairs, straining to hear. "Thank you," he said finally, and hung up. I waited, my heart hammering, but he didn't call for me. I heard his footsteps going to his home office, the door closing firmly. I couldn't go to work. I called in sick and spent the day pacing our house, jumping every time I heard a car in the driveway. Nate had left without saying goodbye, and I had no idea what the results said. At 3 o'clock, my phone rang. Sam. Irene, what the hell is going on? Nate just called Dad asking for your parents' address. What? Why? He wouldn't say. Just said he needed to speak with them about a family matter. Dad's freaking out. Mum thinks someone died. Oh, God. What's happening? I can't talk about it right now. Irene, you're scaring me. I hung up and immediately tried calling Nate, straight to voicemail. At 4:30, I picked up Ava from daycare, trying to act normal while my world crumbled around me. Where's Daddy? She asked as I buckled her into her car seat. He's at work, sweetheart. He'll be home later. But he wasn't home for dinner, or bedtime. At 8 o'clock, after I'd put Ava to bed with promises that Daddy would kiss her goodnight when he got home, I tried calling him again. This time, he answered. Where are you? At my lawyer's office. The words hit like ice water. Your lawyer? We need to talk, Irene. I'm on my way home now. What did the test say? We'll discuss it when I get there. He hung up, leaving me alone with my terror. Nate arrived home at 9:15, carrying a briefcase I'd never seen before. His face was a mask of controlled calm that was somehow worse than anger would have been. Is Ava asleep? Yes. Good. Sit down. I perched on the edge of our couch, my hands trembling. He sat across from me, opened the briefcase, and pulled out a folder. The DNA test results came back today. And? He opened the folder and pulled out an official-looking document. Ava is not my biological daughter. Even though I'd been dreading this moment, hearing the words spoken aloud was devastating. I felt like I was falling through space. That's impossible. Is it? His voice was deadly quiet. Because according to this report, there's a 0% probability that I'm Ava's father. There must be a mistake. Tests can be wrong. I had them run it twice. Same result. I stared at the paper in his hands, the numbers and percentages that were destroying my family. Nate, I can explain. Can you? Because I'd love to hear how you explain lying to me for 5 years about the paternity of the child I thought was my daughter. I wasn't lying. I thought she was yours. Did you? Or did you just hope she was? The question hit too close to home. It was a confusing time. You were traveling so much and I was lonely. So you slept with Owen. It wasn't like that. What was it like, Irene? Help me understand how my wife ended up pregnant with another man's child. Tears streamed down my face. We ran into each other at Murphy's bar. You'd been gone for 2 weeks, and I was feeling neglected. We started talking, and one thing led to another. How many times? What? How many times did you sleep with him? Does it matter? It matters to me. 3 times, maybe 4. It was just physical, it didn't mean anything. It meant everything. His composure finally cracked. It meant you were cheating on your husband. It meant the child I've been raising, loving, supporting for 5 years isn't even mine. She's still your daughter in every way that matters. Is she? Because I've spent the last 6 hours with my attorney, and legally speaking, I have no rights to a child who isn't biologically mine. The implication hit me like a truck. You're going to abandon her. I'm going to protect myself, there's a difference. She loves you, you're the only father she's ever known. And whose fault is that? Who made the decision to lie about her paternity for 5 years? I wasn't lying. I genuinely thought, bullshit. He stood up, pacing to the window. You knew there was a chance she wasn't mine. You had to know. But you let me believe she was because it was convenient. That's not true. Isn't it? Because Owen's successful, but he wasn't ready for marriage and kids back then. I was the safe choice, the responsible husband who'd provide for your daughter and never question her paternity. You're twisting everything. Am I? Then explain why you invited Owen to her birthday party. Explain why you've been meeting him secretly. Explain why you're so desperate to reconnect with him now. Nate's question, what was I actually sorry for, hung between us, and I finally understood I had no real defense. I'd lied about Ava's paternity for 5 years, hoping it would somehow never matter. Instead, Nate calmly laid out the consequences. He was filing for divorce, keeping the house, and notifying Owen so he could assert his rights as Ava's biological father. I begged, argued, said it wasn't what I wanted, but he was done. You forfeited your right to make those decisions when you built our entire marriage on a lie, he said, and handed me the papers that ended our life together. Within 2 weeks, everything collapsed. Owen's emergency DNA test confirmed what we already knew. He moved quickly to claim joint custody. Nate just as quickly relinquished all parental rights and walked away. The judge shredded what was left of my illusions, calling out the harm I'd done to everyone, especially Ava, before awarding Nate the house and assets and granting Owen joint custody as her legal father. Now I live in a small apartment, working extra hours, while Ava splits her time with a man who loves her but can't forgive me for hiding her, and a ghost dad who wants nothing to do with us. Nate has rebuilt his life elsewhere. Owen and I are polite co-parents and nothing more. I told myself I was protecting my family by lying. Instead, I blew it apart. The truth came out anyway, only not on my terms, and I finally understand what Nate meant. Some lies are simply too big to forgive.